Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a couple of things. One, I'm going to be trimming down these overwintered plants here. This is my Kangstar Lemon Starburst, beautifully grown. It's a pretty good producer last year. It started a little late, but I love the way the pods developed. So I decided to overwinter it. As you can see, it's looking great. It's beautiful, healthy. I'm just going to trim it down a little bit just because it's getting a little too big for my grow tent. It's kind of clashing with this guy over here, which is my Scotch Bonnet Orange. Another one of my favorite pepper plants. It was a big producer last year. By far my best producer. Tons of pods. And it's already starting to flower and stuff already a little bit. But again, I got to trim this one down. There's not a lot of space for it here, especially in this little pot. So I'm going to show you how I trim those down. Another seedling that kind of started late was my pineapple ricotta. These were kind of hard to germinate, but they finally came up. I'm going to be transplanting 2 seedlings into their own pot. I'm going to show you how I go about doing that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of inspect it visually. Like I said, there's not a lot of space in my grow tent, so I can't really get a good look at it every time I go in there. But like I say, it's producing a lot of buds. But I really don't want this thing flowering right now. My main intent with this plant is just to keep it alive. That way when I put it back outside, it can go right into its flowering stage and start producing again. So what I'm doing is just visually looking for those sections of the plant that look a little bit weaker. Because, in the tent, it's really limited to how much sunlight it can get. So, not every section can get as much as others. So I'm just going to quickly trim down the parts that I feel like aren't, really beneficial to the plant itself, and we'll go from there. All right, and I'm just gonna slow it down right back to here. At this point, as you can see, I drastically cut down a lot of the greenery. Like I said, I'm not too worried about this thing producing right now over the winter time. This is more just to make sure it's thriving and kind of maintaining its life until I can get it right back outside. But the other thing you want to consider too is you're very limited on the space here. So when I have these outside, they're usually in a raised bed or they're in a much bigger bucket, and it can take up nutrients over a longer period of time. The bigger this plant is, the more nutrients it's going to require. So I cut it down smaller just to preserve some nutrients as well. After you cut it down, you kind of want to just clean up the soil a little bit. These leaves and stuff in here, you can either just break up and make it small, because those will kind of break down into the soil if you cover it up. It's kind of like its own little compost in a way. You got to remember that the green in these leaves are full of nitrogen that will go right back into the soil that the plant will eat right up. So, but just kind of, even it out, take any big chunks out there that you really don't want in here. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to bring it right back down to the grow tent and give it a good watering. And that's pretty much how I trim down this plant. And here's the Kangstar Lemon Starburst. I mean, look at that beautiful shape. This would have made a great bonsai. I was gonna really consider this to be a bonsai over the winter time, but I decided I wanted to really let this thing produce next season. So I gave it its own little bucket and let it grow. And obviously you can see it's growing beautifully. The leaves are just so healthy, and like I say, the shape of the plant looks great. Not as many dead branches as the Scotch Bonnet Orange. So again, I'm just gonna cut this down a little bit, and we'll go from there. And there you have it. Cut this down to where I thought was reasonable. Um, what I'm gonna do with all this greenery that I cut down is I'm just gonna throw it into my raised bed out in the backyard. Right now it's covered up with a few bricks to try to keep the soil warm over the winter time. But I'm just gonna simply break these up as small as I can and just throw those in there. Like I say, it's gonna be extra nutrients, organic that can go right into the grow bed. And then in a few months, when I start to move these plants outside, it's just gonna be already prepared to go right into the plants that go out there. So, but yeah, again, these are the two plants. That's how I trim them down. They're gonna go right back in the grow tent. I'm gonna give them a good watering. All right, guys. So the next thing on my to-do list for today is to transplant these seedlings into their own little pot. Um, like I say, these are pineapple ricotta. I started these probably about a week after I started everything else. Um, and I knew they were going to be a challenging seed to get germinated, but I didn't think they would take as long as they did. It took about 14 days for these things to pop up. It's been now, this is probably day 17 or 18, and now I have a few others that are starting to come up, as you can see there. But these two that are up and standing, you can see their initial sets of leaves. Those are the ones I'm going to be transplanting. The other two, I'm just going to scrap. I'm not going to lie. I don't have the space for them. So I'm going to keep two plants. I'm probably going to end up giving one of them away in the end. But I'm going to show you how I do it. And I got this little tool from Home Depot a couple seasons ago. And this is what I'm going to use to kind of dig up the seedling. This is how I transplant all my seedlings. A lot of people kind of get weirded out by handling the roots or, trying to disturb the plant as it is, but I personally never had a problem with it. But pretty much this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use this piece right here. I'm going to go on either side of the plant and kind of loosen the soil around it. When the seedlings are this young, usually the roots are just straight down. They don't have any roots that are branching out. So pretty much all you're going to do is just loosen the soil around it, but be obviously very careful. You don't want to break the roots. But the pepper plants are very, very resilient. So if you were to break them by accident, then it wouldn't be that big a deal because they'll recover relatively quickly. But like I say, you just want to kind of be real careful. Make sure the soil around it is very loose. And you just want to go around it. You don't want to kind of rip it out because the last thing you want to do is rip the root. And I'm just going to be extra careful here. Kind of wiggle it out little by little. And it should kind of come out on its own. But like I say, I want to be extra careful. These seeds are really hard to germinate. The rest of my other plants usually germinated at like 6 to 8 days. And like I say, these things took nearly 2 weeks. So I was kind of getting nervous that they weren't even going to pop. So I don't want to go through that waiting process again, but here we go. Come straight out. And like I say, the roots kind of go straight down in a line like that. And all I'm going to do now is take the new home for the seedling. I'm going to dig a hole right in the center of it. You can usually use this little shovel side of this little tool here. And all you're going to do is just simply bury the roots and push the soil around it to support it. Make sure it's in there nice and comfortably. Pat it in there nice and tight. And that's pretty much it. And as you can see there, it's in there nice and snug. And this thing is going to grow to be nice and healthy, hopefully, barring any serious complications. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and I'm just going to do the other one again. I'll kind of speed it up. And there's seedling number 2. Nice and easy, like I say. I'm probably gonna add some more soil in here just to fill it in. But yeah, that's pretty much the process I go through. I'm gonna put these down in the grow tent and give you a quick tour. So I will be right back. All right, guys. So here we are in my grow room. These are the plants I started last time. I transplanted most of them out. I have at least 2 of each variety down in here. So this is how they're looking now. They're actually all looking pretty healthy. Some of them are growing way faster than others. I have my 2019 Pepper Lover Community pepper in the can here growing. It's looking pretty healthy. Starting to flower. So hopefully some yellow pequeño pods will form really soon. Over here I have my overwinter project, my Banshee. It's a Carolina Reaper. I'm sure you've seen that before if you follow my channel. If not, just take a look back. There's a couple of videos I did on it. That's actually looking really strong and healthy now too. Over here, the 2 plants that I just trimmed down. As you can see, how tight the space is. Before, these 2 were just clashing with all of their foliage, so I kind of had to, like I say, cut them down, save some space. I have some hydroponic projects I'm doing right over here. I had to trim some of those down recently, but those are looking pretty healthy. I have my Sugar Rush Peach that's looking relatively healthy. I just topped that. I don't know if you can really tell, but I topped that down, and you can see tons of new growth already starting to push out. And down here, the plants I just transplanted. One thing I wanted to mention as a reminder, just make sure you label all your plants. It's going to save you some headaches when it comes time to moving things outside. You're not going to have anything that's mislabeled, any mystery peppers per se. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have here in my grow tent. Like I say, today is January 30th. We have about 3 more months before anything really goes outside. The only thing I really have to consider now is where I am going to find the space to start my other vegetables, my zucchini, my squash, and everything else that my family eats. But that's a battle I'm going to have to fight at another time. But thanks for watching. I hope you learned some things here, at least the way I do them. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and I will see you for my next video.